In the cooperative game, the villains take center stage. They are the foes that the heroes must vanquish so they can win the game. What's an adventure without having some villains to face? In Fortune and Glory, the villains are the opponents who try to stop your merry band of travelers from winning the game. When setting up for the cooperative game, you will place the villain track with the track marker set at 0. Choose the vile organization that you want to face. The choice can be deliberate or random. Place the vile organization record sheet and the outpost tactics chart near the villain track. Shuffle all villain cards that are part of the vile organization and randomly draw and place them in a row from left to right near the record sheet. These are the active villains. The number drawn will be shown on the cooperative game victory chart based on how many heroes are participating. Deploy the first villain on the board in the same space as the artifact adventure with the highest fortune value. If there is a tie, place it on the highest fortune and lowest danger value. If still tied, you may choose which one to place the villain. The second villain figure is placed on their card, while the third villain figure is also placed on their card, but lying down to show that they are delayed. No villain is complete without a secret base or hideout. The record sheet of the vile organization will show where the outpost is to be located. You are now ready to start the cooperative game. Follow the same turn order rules as you would for a competitive game, but with the idea that you will be sharing your fortune toward achieving a common goal. All fortune should be placed in a single pile. Any hero is allowed to use or lose a fortune from this pile. One exception is that your hero does not lose fortune for being knocked out. Glory points are still tracked by individual heroes. If 2 or more heroes work together in a fight or overcome dangers, they each receive the full glory amount if they win. If the villain track marker reaches the pre-designated number for them to win, then the heroes immediately lose the game. If the heroes reach the pre-designated fortune total first, they win. No hero needs to return to their starting cities if they have enough fortune, as the game ends immediately. The cooperative game is played as normal with initiative, move, and adventure phases. But before the end phase is the villain phase. And if the villains are the Nazis, the standard Zeppelin card is flipped to reveal the War Zeppelin. The villain phase for the cooperative game consists of 3 steps: drawing villain events, the outpost or Zeppelin step, and the villain adventure step. Draw a villain event card and read it to the group. You follow the instructions on the card to carry out its effects. If you draw Vile Tactics, you roll on the Vile Organizational Tactics chart to see the result. If you draw a random villain, shuffle the villains who are in play and select a card at random. This includes villains that are on the board and back at the base. In this phase, a special ability of the outpost may be activated. The rules governing such abilities are found on the back of the tactics chart. In the competitive game, the Zeppelin drops off Nazis around the board. In the cooperative game, when you are facing a Nazi vile organization, then the War Zeppelin comes into play. The War Zeppelin is also used during the outpost step of the villain phase. The back of the Zeppelin record sheet contains the rules used when the War Zeppelin is in play. Villains are much more active during the cooperative game. They will hunt down artifacts on the board to keep for themselves. There are 4 states that a villain may be in: deployed, which is a villain figure on the board at an artifact adventure, searching for that artifact; ready, when the villain is on their card waiting to be deployed on the board; delayed, when the villain is on their card but lying down to show that they are not ready; and knocked out, when the villain is lying down on the villain card, which is flipped upside down to show that the villain is out of action. You deploy the first active villain on the board. The second is placed on their villain card in ready position, and if you have a third villain, they are lying down on their card as they are delayed. Depending on their status, the villain takes the following actions. If they are knocked out, they will flip over the villain card and become delayed. If they are delayed, they will stand upright on the card to show that they are ready. If they are ready, they will be deployed to the board to the highest fortune value artifact that does not already have a villain present. And if they are deployed, they will hunt for the artifact. Villains search for artifacts in the same manner as described in the Advanced Elements section. They roll adventure dice equal to their search skill, but -1 die per hero in their space. For each roll of 4, 5, or 6, they take a danger marker, and if they are at a temple, a fortune as well. However, for every roll of 1, they take a wound regardless of their defense value. All fortune artifacts, including temple treasures collected by the villain, is placed in the Vile Organization record sheet. Temple treasures that are collected will move the villain track as specified. However, the artifact adventure cards are discarded when they are collected. Villains in Deep Jungle will need to explore to find the artifact adventure the same as the hero. When a villain figure is removed from the board, they become fully healed, and if active, will go back to their base, which is their villain card. If a villain takes wounds equal to or greater than their wounds value, they become knocked out. Villains removed because they recovered artifacts are returned to their cards in a ready state. However, if the villain was removed because the hero recovered the artifact, or if they were in a temple that collapsed, then they return to their card lying down in a delayed state. The villain track shows the power the organization gains throughout the game. The marker starts at 0 and gains 2 steps when a villain recovers an artifact. 1 step for every 3 fortune coins the villain collects, which are then returned to the fortune pool. 1 step for whenever a henchman figure would be placed in a space that already has one, or cannot be placed in that space because there are no more models available. There are also cards and abilities that will move the track as well. They will have explanations as to how they work. And that's how villains work in the cooperative game. Thank you for watching. Check out our other videos on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. Plus, you can keep up with the latest news by visiting our Facebook and Twitter pages. And if you want to support the channel, we have a link to our Patreon page below. And I will see you next Wednesday.